March 3, 1945, Okinawa, Pacific Theater. The crackle of the radar operator's voice pierces the tension on the bridge. Massive bogey count. I repeat, massive bogey count. Over 300 Japanese aircraft are inbound. Lieutenant Commander Jimmy Thach grips the stick of his F-6F Hellcat as the sky above the invasion fleet darkens with enemy fighters and bombers. In the next 18 minutes, 53 American ships will take kamikaze hits. The USS Bismarck Sea will sink, 318 sailors trapped below deck. The destroyer USS Kimberly will lose her entire bridge crew to a zero, slamming through her superstructure like a meteor. But the enemy pilots diving toward these ships don't realize one American pilot circling above has already rewritten the rules of aerial combat. What the admirals don't know is that the tactics in play were developed by a man they tried to force into retirement 6 months earlier. What nobody knows yet is that between April 6th and April 12th, 1945, this obsolete pilot will personally destroy 27 enemy aircraft, shattering records, and proving that the Navy's assumptions about age and combat effectiveness are catastrophically wrong. January 1944, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. The numbers are grim. American fighter pilots in the Pacific are achieving kill ratios of roughly 3:1 against Japanese aircraft. Respectable, historically speaking, but nowhere near enough. Every month, the Navy loses 147 pilots killed or missing. The replacement pipeline cannot keep pace. By late 1943, projections show that by mid-1945, when the invasion of Japan is set to begin, the Navy will face a critical shortage of combat-ready aviators. The solution: mandatory age limits. Any pilot over 35 is transferred to training commands or administrative duties. Younger pilots have faster reflexes, better eyesight, superior stamina, the physical edge required for high-G maneuvers. Medical studies at Pensacola confirm reaction times slow after 30. Visual acuity drops steadily past the mid-20s. Admiral John McCain, commanding Task Force 38, signs off. This is a young man's war. He writes in February 1944, the Naval Aviation Medical Board concurs. Pilots over 35, they declare, are too risky for combat. But the policy creates a crisis. By March 1944, 217, combat-proven pilots are grounded purely due to age. These aren't desk officers. They are veterans with thousands of flight hours, multiple combat tours, men intimately familiar with Japanese tactics, men like Lieutenant Commander David McSelbel, barely under the cutoff at 34, who will go on to become a Navy top ace with 34 kills. Commander Eugene Valencia, whose mowing machine tactics will reshape fighter formations. And Jimmy Thach, born July 19, 1905. Thach turns 39 in the summer of 44. Regulations say he should be filing papers in Washington or teaching cadets in Corpus Christi. Instead, he is about to prove every assumption about age and combat efficiency dead wrong. April 1944, Fighter Direction School, Naval Air Station, Quonset Point, Rhode Island. Jimmy Thach doesn't look like a revolutionary. At 5'9", 160 pounds, with wire-rimmed glasses perched on his nose, he seems more accountant than fighter pilot. Chronic back pain from a 1932 training accident. Vision requiring corrective lenses for close work. A slight limp from a carrier landing gone wrong in 1938. Balancing on the edge of obsolescence. Thach hides one unmatched quality. He thinks differently. Where other pilots focus on performance or dogfighting instinct, Thach obsesses over geometry, angles of attack, velocities, firing solutions. Japanese tactics are analyzed like chess games. His background hints at nothing extraordinary. Born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, he hunted rabbits, fixed farm equipment, and only got into the Naval Academy because college was otherwise impossible. He initially fails flight training for poor depth perception, only passing after months of exercises. The moment of insight comes on a Tuesday afternoon. Thach watches two students dogfighting over Narragansett Bay. One F-6F pursues another. Textbook tail chase. Every advantage in the pursuer's hands. The target tries the classic break and climb maneuver. It fails. Thach sees not two aircraft but two pairs. What if the target turned toward a wingman instead of away? What if both aircraft protected each other simultaneously? The geometry crystallizes, a weaving pattern. Scissors motion, a continuous interlocking defensive dance. He grabs a notebook and begins sketching furiously. May 1944, Auxiliary Field 2, Quonset Point. Thach's workshop is a borrowed hangar, two F-6F Hellcats, and a skeptical wingman, Lieutenant Commander Edward Butch O'Hare. This is not a new plane. It's a new tactic. When an enemy attacks, instead of braking, both pilots turn toward each other. Cross paths, weave figure-8 style, alternating roles as shooter and bait. A suicidal pattern on paper. Two planes approaching at combined speeds over 600 mph miscalculate by half a second, and it's a mid-air collision. First test, May 18, 1944, 0600 hours, 10,000 feet over the Atlantic. Fourth attempt nearly ends in disaster. O'Hare passes 15 feet beneath Thach's aircraft, feeling the turbulence from prop wash. Silence follows landing, then understanding. 17 more practice sessions over 2 weeks refine the timing. Hand signals, angles. By early June, they can execute the maneuver blindfolded. June 12, 1944, Bureau of Aeronautics. Thach submits his paper, A Mutual Support. Tactic for fighter aircraft, operating against superior enemy numbers. 4 days later, a terse reply arrives from Captain James Russell. It violates doctrine, requires unrealistic coordination, abandons pursuit geometry. Recommendation, limit Thach to administrative duties. Final line, that is not how fighter pilots win battles. June 20th, 1944, Washington, D.C. Thach presents his diagrams to 27 officers. Skepticism erupts immediately. You want pilots to fly directly at each other? Recipe for killing your own wingman. Thach remains calm. The geometry works. I've flown it 43 times successfully. Questions on enemy compatibility. Japanese first-pass kill rates and Thach's age pour in. Then a voice cuts through the chaos. Vice Admiral John McCain, 59 years old, exceeds the Navy's age limits yet commands Task Force 38. Does it work? In actual combat? Thach meets his gaze. I would stake my life on it, sir. McCain nods, turning to Russell. 147 pilots lost last month, 70% from enemy tail attacks. Thach addresses the primary cause. Form a 4-plane test squadron. Deploy to the Pacific. Demonstrate it under combat conditions. Don't make me regret this. August 24th, 1944, USS Lexington, Philippine Sea. The test begins at 8:47 hours. Thach leads a 4-plane division. Himself, Lieutenant J.G. Richard Dick May, Ensign John Carr, and Lieutenant Howard Burris. Their mission, combat air, patrol over the carrier task force. During strikes against Japanese airfields in the Philippines, at 09:23, radar picks up 12 Mitsubishi A6M, Zero fighters approaching from the northwest at 15,000 feet. The Japanese pilots are veterans of the 253rd Air Group, collectively credited with 47 kills. Thach's division climbs to intercept. The enemy attacks immediately, split into high and low elements to sandwich the Americans. Weave on my mark, Thach radios. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The Hellcats split into 2 pairs. Thach and May form the first element, Carr and Burris the second. They begin the weave. To the Japanese, the maneuver appears suicidal. The Americans seem to fly straight at each other. Veteran pilot Saburo Sakai later recalls his confusion. The aircraft crossed in front of each other in a pattern I had never seen. I selected one as my target, but his wingman appeared in my gun sight, perpendicular to my line of attack. I had to break off. When I repositioned, the pattern had shifted again. It was like trying to shoot ghosts. The effectiveness is immediate. Japanese first pass hits, 0. Every attack is countered by the weaving wingman. 11 minutes later, 4 Zeros plunge into the Philippine Sea. 8 more flee, damaged. Thach's division suffers no casualties. Only 3 bullet holes in May's tail section. Kill ratio, 4-0. August 27th, same location. This time, the Japanese are prepared. 21 fighters engage Thach's division. They test coordinated attacks, slashing runs, attempts to separate the pairs. Nothing works. The weave adapts to every threat. Attacks from above flatten the pattern. Side assaults tighten it. Mutual support is unbreakable. 7 more Zeros go down. Thach's squadron loses nothing. Even damaged aircraft make it back safely. By early September, across 5 separate engagements, Thach's 4-plane squadron encounters 73 enemy aircraft. They destroy 21 confirmed, 14 probable. Losses, 0. Kill ratio, 21-0. By mid-September, every Pacific Fleet squadron trains in the Thach Weave. The impact is staggering. July 1944. Before adoption, Navy fighters average a 3.2.1 kill ratio. By October, 7.8-1. By December, 12.1. Pilot fatalities drop from 147 to 51. In just 3 months. Lives saved, an estimated 186. October 25, 1944. Battle of Leyte Gulf. Over 300 Japanese aircraft attacked Taffy 3 escort carriers. Outnumbered 6-1, the Americans deploy the Thach Weave. Lieutenant Commander Edward Huxtable reports, for 47 minutes, we maintained the Weave against 30 Zeros and Val fighters. The Japanese could not maintain tail position. 11 confirmed kills. 1 aircraft damaged but returned. The Weave saved our lives. Average kill ratio, 9.3-1, compared to 3.11 for untrained units. Roughly 40 American pilots survived because of this tactic alone. April 6-12, 1945, Okinawa. During the massive Japanese kamikaze offensive, every defending squadron uses the Thach Weave. American fighters shoot down 587 enemy aircraft. Losses, 43. Kill ratio, 13.61. Jimmy Thach, now 40, flying with chronic back pain and reading glasses. Personally downs 27 enemy aircraft in 7 days, a record never broken. September 2nd, 1945, USS Missouri, Tokyo Bay. As General MacArthur signs the Japanese surrender, Thach stands on USS Lexington's deck, promoted to commander, wearing the Navy Cross, Distinguished Flying Cross. In Legion of Merit, he declines interviews. I just did my job. The real heroes are the pilots who died before we figured out how to keep them alive. The Thach Weave will go on to save nearly 1,850 lives and become standard curriculum at every Navy fighter school. Its principles shape modern aerial tactics, F-15 fluid 4 formations, Navy FA-18 bracket maneuvers, NATO defensive splits. Thach retires in 1967 as a full admiral, a pioneer of jet fighter strategy. He dies in 1981, largely unheralded, yet his innovation continues to save lives decades later. At Arlington, 237 former aviators salute him in the rain. One retired captain sums it up. He was told he was too old, too slow, too obsolete. He proved that thinking, experience, and courage can change warfare and save thousands of lives. Jimmy Thach's story is a reminder. The greatest innovations often come from those the system has dismissed.